If you're just tuning in, my name is John Cottrell. This is Soft Flow. This is an hour-long class. We like to start in seated, but let me also mention what you might need for your props for our practice this morning, and I'll mention what we'll be focusing on this morning if you're new to the practice. So certainly your yoga mat and maybe a bolster if you happen to have one, or like a big pillow, something soft that you might want to lay on or sit on a little bit later. I'd recommend a couple of blocks. If you have them, don't need to have blocks, but if you have them, that'd be great. Or a dictionary and a thesaurus, just some thick books, encyclopedias, something like that. I'm just going to set those aside, but but something stackable like that. And again, something soft to sit on like a blanket. We're going to start in seated, and as you're getting comfortable in your seat, I'll say what we're going to be focusing on today. As I've mentioned, last week, our premise, our main platform and intention for the overall soft flow practice is based on the yoga principle called ahimsa, which means nonviolence. And I've translated that or reframed that to saying being loving and kind and gentle toward yourself, which then turns into an outward expression. So being kind and loving and gentle to yourself, and that later turns into an outward expression. I think that we can all practice that. And so we practice that physically in our practice by using props, just things that you can use to take care of yourself, be mindful of your body in motion, and just taking care of things like our backs and our joints, like our wrists and knees, okay? So our main focus as we get through our opening breathing practice, it's gonna be on balance. We'll be focusing on balance today. We'll do a couple of balancing practices and postures. We like to begin with a breathing meditation. So as you find stillness, feel free to close your eyes or just soften your eyes. You might take a couple of deep breaths in and out just to have the awareness that you are breathing. And that can just soften to a steady breath in and out. Becoming aware of each inhale and aware of each exhale. Intentional breathing, breathing on purpose, even breathing with purpose. And that purpose might be to find and create balance within you. If you're feeling a bit unsettled, unsteady, ungrounded, perhaps this practice can lead you back to that path towards balance and centering. And tapping into your internal strengths, traits, aspects of self that you are your resources that bring you to balance. Even think of your external resources, something like yoga, for example. Those resources that you have in your life that help you to find balance. Let's do a little bit more intentional breathing. So I invite you to take a nice full breath in, and as you breathe in, just feel the breath rising, filling up your lungs. And a slow and controlled exhale, and you might engage the abdominal lock very lightly, which is just drawing your navel inward towards your spine with that light contraction of your abdominal muscles. And one more time, an inhale to feel that lifting and lengthening through your spine, as well as breath rising to fill up your lungs. And exhale, connecting to center. I'm going to do a pranayama practice, and I'm just going to simply call it balanced breathing. So pranayama is a breathing exercise, or a classification of breathing exercises. And this is, I'm just going to call this balanced breathing. So just continue to focus on your breath. And I want you to be aware of the pace of your breath. So as you inhale, you might count to yourself 1, 2, 3, and just kind of count how long it takes for you to take that full breath in. And then when you exhale, same thing, just starting over with your counting 1, 2, 3, until you're completely exhaled. So do that several times, just the awareness of the pace when you breathe in and the awareness of the pace when you breathe out. And as you're becoming aware of that pace, just notice if these match at all, or if they don't match. For example, maybe your exhale is a bit longer than your inhale, or vice versa. And as you're able, just with some manipulation of your breath, can you make the pace of your inhale match the pace of your exhale? Or the pace of your exhale matching the pace of your inhale. So in your next round of breathing, count to yourself as you inhale. And let's say it's 4. And as you exhale, it's the same count of 4. And if you'd like, just an option with this breathing exercise, you can add one more beat to each exhale and to each inhale. So if your beat was, or your pace was 4 on either end, just add one more beat to either end, making it 5. So you're just slowing down the pace of your breath. Nice. You can just maintain this pace. We'll add our moving meditation, just moving with breath. You can still use this balanced breathing. So in your next round of breath, I invite you to inhale and extend your arms out and up. And again, maybe using that pace, if it's 4 or 5 or 6. And exhaling that same balanced breath as you float your arms back down by your side. Good, just going at your own pace, our balanced breathing and balanced movement. And inhale to extend your arms out. And there is an effort of reaching, a nice extension, energy in your arms, hands, and fingers as you extend and reach up high. And exhale, extend them outward as if you're going to touch perhaps a wall on either side of you, and then back down. And just referring back to our intention of our practice, balance. So this is maybe one resource, balanced breathing. If there's times when you're just feeling a little unsettled, uncentered, and you just need just kind of a quick recentering, maybe just a quiet moment of balanced breath.
I don't know.
Just help balance your mind,
No idea.
calm your mind, balance your body.
I'm just stammering here for a second. What's the last contact?
Finish the breath that you're
I
on and
haven't
take
talked to him
2
since he had
more
the problem,
breaths.
but I was
2
talking
more
with.
balanced
I think
breaths.
he's doing well. He's home. He isn't going anywhere, and he is recovering. And he had a bleeding ulcer, I believe.
Okay. Intestinal ulcer or stomach ulcer?
Stomach.
So that's survivable.
Yeah.
Because we were ready.
When you feel complete, you can just let your arms rest down by your side. Let your shoulders relaxed. You can maintain this balanced breathing if you'd like, or just regular breathing.
Emily strongly ensconced.
From here, take your hands behind you. Just gently lean back into your hands, or even your fingertips. Pull your shoulders back
all of
Even
those
tip your chin up
things
just a
he
little bit.
told
We're
me,
just
and
going to
that's
create a
how I got
minor
his
back
all
bend.
right. So when did he
Rolling the
come home, do you
shoulders
know?
back, heart opens with chin lifted.
No,
We'll
I don't.
inhale,
Oh, okay.
press
It's
into
Sunday,
the
I think.
ground with the
But he's
hands,
gonna be
and
okay.
feel the breath rise and really feel that
Yep.
expansion in
Good.
your upper
Well,
chest, opening up
I
through the
know
lungs.
the business matter. There's Queen
A nice
Mountain.
full breath in, and then exhale. You might engage your abdominal lock, that navel drawing in towards spine. You might even squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. Just bring a little bit more action or activation to the body, more awareness, more sensation. Nice inhale, filling up your heart space, expanding through the lungs. And your exhale. Maybe this next one you might once again try that balanced breath. And after that breath, take one more. And after that last breath, just lower your chin, walk your hands towards yourself. Let's extend the arms out and up once again, just reaching for the ceiling. So another nice stretch, reaching high, and your exhale, bringing your arms back down by your side. And once again, just let your arms relax. And notice that shift, that change from being active in the body, feeling that effort in the body, that full release of the body.
Boy Scouts and all that kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, I think with this shooting school, he's using
One last seated position. Let's uncross the legs if your legs are crossed. Place the soles of the feet together into a cobbler's pose. So the knees are bent, they might be kind of out to the side like that. You can just hold on to your ankles or shins or even your toes. And you're just going to sit up nice and tall. So a nice inhale to feel like the lifting and lengthening through your spine. As you exhale, draw your navel inward toward your spine, hinging
Yes.
forward.
Hey,
Just a little
John.
bit.
Hi, John. I'm sorry. This person who has their mic on, I can't hear you over
You
him.
guys hear me okay?
Someone's not muted.
Yeah, don't know who that is.
Trouble hearing me?
Yeah, there's a person, David Jarley, who
Tell them to put them both on there.
Yeah, who's David? Yeah,
LLC and Broadbent Land Resources. Yes.
hello.
Still trouble hearing me, everybody?
No, that's better. No, if somebody had their mic on
Let's
or
do
their,
this.
a full conversation about somebody's ulcer going on. So
Let's remove that. Can you hear me okay?
yes.
Better? Just took off the microphone. All right, I'll speak up here. Everybody hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. So the soles of the feet coming together here for our cobbler's pose. Knees bent and out to the side. If you have blocks or a pillow or something like that, you might even use those blocks or other props just to set underneath the knees and just let the legs just naturally fall open. You might hold onto your toes or shins or ankles. You want to inhale and just feel the lifting and lengthening through your spine. Exhale, draw belly in. We're going to hinge forward just a little bit. Another inhale, continue that nice lengthening through spine as you're able, and exhale, draw belly in, and we'll hinge forward. You can hold just like this. You might have a nicely extended spine. It's nice and straight. Or you might fold a little bit deeper, allowing your back to round. Your head might drop down a little bit. And just notice the sensation, perhaps a stretch or release in your inner thighs. And if that back is rounded, a nice curvature, stretch quality through your entire back. maybe in your neck area if your chin is lowered. Just take 3 more breaths. When you feel complete with those breaths, first just lift your head to help re-extend your spine, then hinge from hips to rise back up until you're nice and tall in your seat. Just pause for a moment, just take a breath or two. We'll set our props to the side. We're going to come to hands and knees on the mat. And if you are on a hardwood floor or outside on a deck, or just simply want some extra softness underneath your knees and your wrists, you might want to use a blanket, a nice folded blanket underneath you, and just come to a tabletop posture. So you can join me here. This is cat and cow. So we're going to inhale, lift head and heart, little arch of the back, creates a little back bend. And exhale, we'll round it all out. So rounding the spine, belly button pulls up towards spine, chin towards chest. And just continue to flow just like this. And inhale to look up or forward, little arch of the back like you're doing a minor back bend. Good, and exhale, round it all out. Chin to chest, with broadening of the back. Navel pulls up towards spine. And just continue to flow through these 2 poses. You inhale when we look forward, that's cow. When we exhale and round it out, that's cat. A nice undulation of the spine. It's a nice exercise. Kind of like a lubrication for your spine. Gets your pelvis moving. Helps to release perhaps any tension in your low back. We'll finish the breath and take 2 more. And after your second breath, just come back to a neutral tabletop posture. Again, just a pause right here. And as you're pausing, maybe just look down at your hands and fingers. A little extra push of the hands into the floor. Feel the energy in your arms. Very good strength. Just hold that for a second. Take note. We're going to move into our next pose. If you happen to be on a blanket, you might want to crawl off the blanket and just send it off to the side. You can certainly use that again later if you'd like. And then just return to your hands and knees. We're going to move to downward facing dog. And from our tabletop posture, when you're ready to move, just step your hands forward a little bit. So your hands are out from underneath your shoulders. Spread out your fingers nice and wide. The same push or press into the ground to flatten the palms, stretching the palms. Strong arms, straight as can be. Then tuck your toes. And with an exhale, lift your knees into the air, lift your hips up into the air until you're in downward facing dog. You might tiptoe forward slightly, keep a little bend in the knees. Just going to pause for just a second and move out of the posture. Look at the space between your hands. You're going to take a walk or a few steps forward up to your hands until your feet are firm on the ground, and you'll be in a deep forward fold here, yes. We're going to come out of this pose. You're going to inhale, slide your hands up to your knees or thighs, extending your spine so you form a nice long table with your body. And exhale, fold. Let's hold here for a few moments, a few breaths. Now this could be a partial fold, meaning you don't have to touch the ground at all. Maybe you're up a little higher, your hands can rest on your shins perhaps. You can keep a good slight bend in your knees. Or you might bend your knees a little bit more so you can touch the ground or your toes. You can allow your back to round, your head might drop. And just for a moment, just return to balanced breathing. You might just take 1 or 2 breaths. Choose a pace, it might be 4 or 5. You can just choose the pace of that balanced breath.
Then to move out of the posture, start shifting your weight back into your heels. Bend your knees, allowing your hips to drop like you're sitting down in a very low chair. Look forward, that will extend your spine. Spread your wings by taking your arms out to the side. Press your feet into the floor to straighten your legs, standing up nice and tall. And then reach into the air until you're very tall. Big stretch here at the top. As you exhale, bring your arms down by your side. Just landing here in mountain pose. Let's take a moment to look at the feet. Literally look down at your feet, and maybe let's get our toes perhaps pointing forward. Maybe your feet are about hip distance apart. You can even have them out a little wider if that feels a little bit more comfortable. However you're standing, find balance on 2 feet. Just notice if you might be shifting weight to one side or the other. Even notice if you're leaning back more into your heels or forward towards your toes. Again, a little manipulation to find some centering. Now imagine that your feet, let's imagine one foot for the moment, like there was a tripod underneath it or a triangle underneath your foot. Now the heel would be like the one point, maybe like an isosceles triangle, and maybe the ball of the big toe and the ball of maybe the 4th toe, the bottom base of that triangle. See if you can equally put pressure into those points on both feet. Let's take a quick flow. You're just going to inhale, extend your arms into the air, reaching high. You're going to exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, and sit back. Now the weight's going to shift back into the heels of the feet, perhaps, as you bend your knees and carefully fold, making your way down towards toes. Then inhale, slide your hands up to your knees or thighs, re-extending spine. If you can, shift your weight forward towards your toes with this action. Exhale, fold again. Let's hold for a moment in forward fold and go back to that tripod stance with both feet. Even distribution of weight on those 3 points underneath the foot. Now shift weight back into the heel, that 1 point on the triangle. Bend your knees, drop your hips, look forward, extend your arms out to the side. Inhale, standing up tall once again, reaching high. Good, exhale, bring your arms back down by your side. Another pause here in mountain pose, finding balance, standing on your tripod. Balance. Balance on 2 feet. All right, we're going to continue our flow. We're just going to go through our regular flow, just getting into some warriors, just to get some good lunges and leg stretches. Here we go. Inhale, extend your arms into the air, another big stretch, reaching high. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back and down like you're sitting back into a chair. That weight shift back into the heels. And then all the way down. Inhale, sliding hands up to knees or thighs, re-extending your spine. As exhale, bend your knees enough, maybe rounding your back to place your palms on your mat. So you can step both feet back into plank pose. Just holding here for a moment at the top of your push-up. Nice and strong straight arms. While you're here, feel your arms, your biceps and your forearms squeeze in towards each other. Inhale here, then exhale, bend your knees a little, send your hips into the air, and we're in downward facing dog. You might need to tiptoe forward slightly, keeping a good bend in the knees. Let's hold here for a little bit longer than the first time. You might pedal the feet here if you'd like, just to get a little stretch in your calves, your toes. Let the knees bend, let your hips shift side to side. Anything that might feel good for mostly the lower half of the body. The upper half is really stabilizing you as your hands continue to press firmly and strongly into your mat. Strong, straight arms. Deep breaths. We're going to continue. When you're ready, inhale, extend your right leg up behind you. It doesn't have to lift high. It's just nice and long and straight. Exhale, bend your right knee, bring it in underneath you towards your chest. shifting your body weight forward so your shoulders are over your wrists, and set your right foot down between your hands. Now that might be hard to do since we're moving so slowly. If your foot is on the ground like mine is, not even close to the right hand, set your left knee onto the ground. Literally pick up your right foot and just step it up a little higher on your mat. And then re-lift that back knee. Now start shifting your weight back by moving your hips back towards the back edge of your mat so you can easily rise up to your fingertips. Here we're also establishing balance in the body. Your balance should be at the center of gravity, which is your hips, where my left hand happens to be. Rise up to fingertips, look forward to help extend your spine. Now walk both hands up to your right thigh. A little press into that thigh to lift upper body to we're at 45 degrees with the torso. Let's activate more balance by pressing that back heel towards the floor. Squeezing to inner thighs, so we're very strong in the inner legs here. We're going to sweep the arms out, rise up, reach up into the air. This is high lunge. As we exhale, we're going to lunge a little bit deeper. I consider this a balancing lunge position, even though both feet are on the floor, but that back foot isn't completely on the floor, so it does take a little balance to be here. We're going to inhale, lift up a little bit. That should unlock this left hip so we can easily turn that leg, bring that heel to the floor, turn sideways. Yes, bring your arms down to parallel. You'll be in warrior two. Good. A nice outstretch expression of your arms, reaching wall to wall. Now let's reach out over this right leg, angled upper body, and then rotate the arms. Now you can even bend this right arm and rest it on the right leg if you'd like, or keep it straight and keep it on the inside of the leg. And just reach upward with the left hand. Nice extension. Feel where the sensation arises in your body. Deep breaths here. And we're still maintaining a sense of balance, even though we're kind of tipped over as we are. We want to make sure we're still balanced. The center of gravity is still our hips or pelvis or even the tailbone. That might mean the left foot needs to press more firmly into the ground. The foot behind you. Let's breathe in. We're going to exhale to carefully turn towards the floor. Bend slowly so you can bring your palms back down onto the floor. Lift up onto your tiptoes behind you. Your heel lifts. Press firmly into the floor with the hands. Lift your hips slightly if you can, then slide or step the right foot back. You'll return to plank pose. Bend the knees a little, send your hips into the air, downward facing dog. So we really break these down. Let's do the other side, no rush to move. We'll inhale, extend the left leg up, reaching back nice and long. As you exhale, bend this left knee, bring it in underneath you, shifting body weight forward. Shoulders over wrists. Let's set the left foot down between the hands, or if it didn't make it, set the right knee onto the ground. Reach back, literally pick up the left foot, set it up a little higher, and then relift that back knee. If your weight is forward, we're sending the hips back. Let's find that center of gravity, which is the pelvis. So you can easily float up to fingertips. You might be in this lunge like this, but there's no weight on your hands. You can see me kind of just brushing my mat, but there's no weight on my hands. Let's walk both hands up to the thigh. Make sure it's on the thigh, not your knee, but your thigh, because that's more muscly. Right, so we can press into it easily and extend the spine at 45 degrees. Let's activate more balance by pressing back through the right heel. Our center is here, if you can see my hands. Let's take the arms out to the side, rise up, reach up until we're perpendicular to the floor. We might reach up for the stretch, and as we exhale, we might lunge a little deeper just to settle into this balancing lunge posture. Couple breaths here as we practice the balance, and then help maintain balance, and squeezing of the inner thighs towards each other, as well as the belly drawing in. We're going to inhale and lift a little so we can easily pivot or turn right heel to the floor, turning sideways, arms come down to parallel, warrior two. Maintaining some balance and centering here, where we start reaching forward out over the left knee a little bit. Rotate the arms, now we're in side angle pose. You can go much lower than this, but you don't have to. One of the things about our soft flow practice is that we don't have to go too far or too deep. We're certainly not moving too fast. We're really taking our time. A couple more breaths here. Then we'll inhale. We'll exhale to turn towards the floor. Carefully bend, bringing hands down to the mat. Rise up onto toes behind you. Press firmly into the floor with your hands, strong arms. See if the hips can lift a little so you can slide the left foot back into plank pose. Hold for a moment for strength. Let's bring the knees to the floor. And if you're able, sitting back into hero pose. Really, we're just taking a seat. If you can sit in hero, stay here. Or if it's better for you just to sit on the ground, do that instead. Just for a moment. All right, let me quickly demonstrate the next posture, and I'll have you do it. Okay, this is called spinal balance, And we will be doing it on our hands and knees. Let me just quickly demo what it looks like, and I'll break down what we're actually doing. So we're starting here. We're going to inhale and do a little cow pose. We're going to exhale into a cat pose and hold cat. Hands are pressing firmly into the floor, arms are strong. Now I'm leaning a little bit into my right knee so I can easily extend my left leg back. I'm just lifting the knee off the floor, but my toes are still on the floor. And I'm going to lift the toes off the ground, maybe an inch, not very high at all. That's my left foot. Now I'm going to extend my right hand forward, reaching. So I want to have this dynamic of reaching forward with the right hand, reaching back with the left hand. And then there's a squeezing in sensation with all four limbs. That's spinal balance. All right, I'm going to come back down. Go ahead and join me here on hands and knees, and we'll do the same thing together. We're going to do both sides. So once you're on hands and knees, let's inhale to cow, so looking forward, which creates that back bend. Exhale, round it into cat. Hold cat with an exhale. Feel the belly button pull up towards spine. That's also a centering effect. Lean a little bit into your right knee. Then extend your left leg back. Straight leg, the knee comes off the floor, but you can keep your toes on the floor for a moment. But then lift that your left foot, your toes off the ground just an inch. So it's not lifting very high at all. Then extend your right arm forward. Reach. Now start reaching with these two lifted limbs. So hand reaching forward, left leg reaching back through your toes or your heel. And then that hugging in sensation, squeezing in, meaning feeling like maybe you've got a block between your thighs or between your arms that you want to hug into. The same action as the navel pulling in towards spine, in this case up towards spine. This all helps you balance. Let's breathe in. Exhale, let's bring the hand and knee back down to the floor, just so we can rest the hands. Go ahead and sit back briefly into hero, if that's okay. If you want to do a little circle with the wrist like this, even pressing the tops of the hands together like this, just to get that counter stretch. That's a lot of pressure being on that one hand. So if you want to counter that, even on the floor, you can gently press the backs of the tops of the hands into the ground, just to get that counter stretch in the wrist. Okay. You're also welcome to put a blanket down too. If that's too much pressure on the knees or your wrist, you might want to bring that blanket back in underneath. Okay, let's do the other side. Whenever you're ready, we'll come back out. Use padding if you need to. We'll start with cow. It's an inhale, lifting head and heart, arching the back. Exhale, round it out. Hold cat, so you can really feel the belly button pull up towards spine. Now you're still breathing, but we want to keep the navel activated. Now lean a little bit into your left knee, so you can extend the right leg back. Straightening the leg, knee lifts up off the floor, toes stay on the ground for a second. And then lift the toes off the floor just barely an inch. When you're ready, extend your left arm forward. Reach. So we're lifting opposite limbs. This is our spinal balance. Now, if we went loose, your body is going to wiggle, it's going to move, it won't be able to stabilize. We need to activate by reaching through the left hand, reaching back through the right foot. Squeeze to center with both limbs, your arms, both legs, squeeze in. belly button pulling up towards spine. Your focus is directly down at the ground. So your neck is long and straight in the same alignment as the rest of your spine. Breathe in, then your exhale. Let's bring those limbs back down to the floor, hand and knee. You might even take the knees a little wider. Let's go ahead and take this to child's pose, just so you can get the pressure off the wrist. Now you can go ahead and sit up if you want to instead. You get that counter stretch for the wrists. You can even skip child's pose if you want to. Just something that takes you out of that activated position. Take 3 more breaths wherever you are. And then slowly make your way back up to hands and knees. If you're using some padding, then you may want to move the padding out of the way. Let's move back into downward facing dog. Again, you might step your hands forward a little bit, spreading out your fingers, pressing palms firmly into your mat. Strong straight arms squeezing in towards midline. Tuck your toes. With an exhale, lift your knees and hips into the air. Here's our downward facing. Look at the space between your hands and go ahead and take a walk up into the space between the hands. Once again, we'll be in a deep forward fold. We'll inhale, slide hands up to the knees or thighs so we can rise up just halfway. So our half forward fold. Exhale back down. And then lean back into your heels, bend your knees, let the hips drop a bit. Look forward to extend spine, arms out to the side. Spread your wings so you can inhale, stand up tall, reach into the air. And again, your exhale, bringing your arms down by your side. Take a moment, return to that full connection to the ground, the triangle underneath each feet. Equal pressure into each of those 3 points. Good. All right, go ahead and relax for a moment. This is where we might want to use blocks, okay? I'm going to allow for other props you can use. Again, I said you can use blocks if you have them, or a couple of stacked books, but if you don't have either of those, you can even use a wall, or a post, or a fireplace, right here, okay? Basically, we're going to be moving into tree pose, but just use something to balance on. And so when we do tree pose, I have my blocks on the floor here. You can go ahead and do this with me. If you have 2 blocks, you don't have to have 2 blocks. But you're going to stand between 2 blocks, or just go ahead and place, if you have 1 block, place it on your left side. Okay? And so basically what we're going to do here, we're going to use the block, I call it a pedestal. Okay? So you're going to shift your weight over into your right foot. Just feel the pressure, the energy of the foot rooting into the ground. You're going to lift your left foot. Just bend your knee to lift this foot, bending the knee. Let's swing the knee out to the side. But you're going to place your toes or the balls of the foot on that pedestal. Okay? And if you happen to have stacked blocks or books, or even turning your block up a little higher like this, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can just place your toes on that block. It might be a little unsteady, so you have to be careful. Just so you have something to stand on in a way as you get into this tree position, which is a nice hip opener, and there is some balance involved here. Now, you don't have to do this. You certainly can just do a regular tree pose if you'd like, but this just gives you a little extra to work with if you need it. Or again, if you don't have a block or anything like that, maybe it's just a wall or a table or something, just to give you some balance. You don't have to worry about the balance so much, okay? And so wherever you are, whether you're leaning on something or using a post or a wall or a block on the floor, feel as tall as can be. You might even extend your arms up into the air. 1 arm or 2, doesn't matter. And just feel the breathing occur here. Deep breaths. You might find that you can hold the pose a little longer because you've got a little extra stability. Let's just take 3 more breaths. It's also a good posture to help practice focus as well as balance. So you might focus on something out in front of you that's not moving. Now that foot that might be on your pedestal, maybe just lift it, turn the knee forward, set your foot down onto the ground. Let's bring the arms back down by your side. Let's return to balance on 2 feet. With 3 points on each foot, firmly, equally planted into the ground. Take a moment in stillness. If you're using one block as your pedestal, you might want to shift it to the other side, or turn around if you're using a wall or a post or a table. Then start shifting weight into your left foot. Let's feel the pressure, the nice grounded, strong positioning in the body. Feel tall and lifted through the spine. And then you'll float the right foot up, bending the knee. We'll turn the knee outward, and then just place the toes right there on your pedestal, or whatever you've got right there, your stacked books, or maybe you've got a wall. You're just leaning against that wall. Don't have to worry at all about the balance. Deep breaths. Your arms can stay by your side. You can even bring them to heart center, or feel free to extend one or both arms up into the air. Feel the strength of the standing leg, the foot rooting into the ground. And this sense of balance that you're practicing, what it takes, is certainly effort and awareness, concentration, focus. These are all these internal traits and aspects that you possess that help you with balance. Maybe focusing on one thing. Three more breaths. When you're ready, maybe you'll lift your foot up off the pedestal. You'll turn that knee forward. We'll set the foot down and just sweep your arms back down by your side. Come back to balance on 2 feet. Feel the arms relax if you have them extended up into the air. Take a nice deep breath or two. When you exhale, you might even exhale through your mouth with a sigh. Maybe a sense of release or relief. Very nice. Go ahead and break pose. So you can just move your props out of the way. Just carefully bend or kneel so you can move your props out of the way. And then just come back to mountain pose. We're just going to flow and make our way back down to the ground. So standing in mountain pose, nice even stance. We'll inhale, extend the arms into the air, reach high. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back and down, slow motion. Then inhale, rise up halfway, full length of spine. Exhale, bend your knees, hands to the mat. Go ahead and step back or walk back into plank pose for a moment. Breathe in for strength and energy. Exhale, bend knees, hips to sky. One last time in downward facing dog. Let's take another moment, pause here. So either hold in stillness or go back to adding some motion in this pose if you'd like. Let's go ahead and bring knees to the floor. We're going to sit on the mat. So you might swing the legs around to the front, sit in the center of your mat, and just have your props nearby, like your blocks or bolster or rolled up blanket. Just have those nearby for these next few poses as we start to wrap things up. So once you're seated in the center of your mat, go ahead and lie down onto your back. Lie down with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Let's move into a bridge pose, which is a nice back bend. But first, you might just want to relax for a moment, let everything settle into the ground, and just make this nice connection to the ground. When you're ready, with a good exhale, you'll lift hips up into the air. Now, you don't have to lift very high at all. And if you happen to have those blocks or like a rolled up blanket or something, maybe slide that prop underneath you to literally sit on. Just like we used the blocks to help us balance in tree pose, which takes some of the effort away from the posture in a way. This does the same thing. You don't have to use as much effort to lift up into the back bend, but you're certainly still in a nice front body opening posture right here. From here, we're just going to move into an inverted posture. There's several ways we can do this. Now, if you're sitting on a stack of blocks, perhaps, you can stay just like that and extend your legs up into the air like this. Now, if you were just lifting in bridge with no support, you might want to come back down to the ground and then extend your legs straight up into the air. You might have the energy of the extended legs initially, but feel free to then maybe move the legs in any fashion. I'm just doing a little bicycle pedaling here. You might want to, so you can bend your knees, even get the feet moving. You circle the feet to get some mobility and stretching through the ankles, wiggle your toes. Even take the legs out to the side, wide, and then back in. Just any movement that just feels easy to do while you are upside down in this posture. This also can bring balance to the body because we're always on our feet. We're always upright. Whether we're sitting or standing, we're mostly upright. We're rarely upside down, right? And so this can bring some balance to the internals just by going upside down once in a while. And that might be just like this, maybe stacked or sitting on a stacked set of blocks or books, legs in the air. You might even do this with legs against the wall, just sitting or lying down on the floor with your legs extending up against a wall. Or even for more dynamics, if you're able, maybe a full headstand or a handstand, just something that gets you upside down or gets the legs in the air. Take 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and bend your knees and set your feet back down onto the floor. Press feet into the floor, lifting your hips so you can slide those props out from underneath you if you have them, and then come back down to the ground. Let's extend the body here. Extend the legs out front, extend your arms behind you, reaching, stretching, just some nice lengthening through the entire body. And then from here, just hug both knees into chest. Let's take a twist. Let's take the knees over to the left side. Extend your right arm to the right side. Now it's okay if when you twist like this, it doesn't matter if the legs touch or not. And if they don't, that's fine. You might even take like a pillow or a blanket or even a block and place them between the knees. I don't know if you can see this, because my legs certainly aren't touching right here, but I just got a block between them. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable. But just notice that nice rotation in the spine and how it affects the back, your hips. And just a couple of more breaths on this first side. Taking your time, no rush to move. Come back to center. Pause for a second, and then take the knees down to the other side. So down to the right, as you extend your left arm to the left. And again, there's certainly no rush to move. If you're feeling pretty comfortable here and you want to spend more time in this twist, please feel free. Our next pose is basically Shavasana or any other restorative position. So whenever you're ready to move, you might return to center, maybe set your feet down to the floor with knees bent, and just take a moment to decide which posture you'd like to move into next for your resting posture. You might just come to Shavasana, where you just extend your legs out front, arms down by your side, and just lie flat on the ground. Or you might need something soft underneath you. Come back to using a pillow or a blanket underneath you. You might even want your legs elevated. That might just mean just bend the knees and just set your feet on the floor. Or if you want them more relaxed, that's when a rolled up blanket or bolster can be nice. And just underneath you so the legs feel slightly elevated. You can do that with your upper body. Just choosing what feels right and really settling in. We'll be here for the next few moments, next few minutes. As best as you can, just coming back to full stillness, ease, release. One final time with balanced breath. Maybe 2 or 3 balanced breaths. You might breathe a little slower. The pace might be a little slower. It might just be a pace of 3 or 4. Stay exactly where you are. There's no need to move just yet. Just return to the awareness of your breath. Just slow, easy breaths. Once again, just return to the awareness of your own breath. Maybe taking 5 slow, deep breaths. Here with the intention of feeling movement return to your body. Let's start with just the movement of breath in your body. And as you're approaching your fifth breath, feel movement return to your body. And after your fifth breath, moving in slow motion, just carefully and slowly roll onto either side of your body, rolling into a nurturing pose. It might resemble a fetal position. Just hold for a moment, still aware of your breath. Even choose to take one more balanced breath. And after that balanced breath, continue moving slowly and guide your way up to seated. Take your time. And once you've made it back up to seated, again, no rush if you're still lying down, no worries. Just sitting up tall with a lengthened spine, maybe your arms and hands are just resting casually in your lap, or you can bring hands to heart center. Take one more balanced breath, a nice full inhale, counting the pace. When you exhale, it's the same pace. And hold in stillness for a few more seconds. And as we complete our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste.